the Dallas Cowboys defense is at a crossroads. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer has made it clear, change is coming. Whether it's the scheme, the personnel, or both, the Cowboys are preparing to shake things up starting this week. Schottenheimer has stressed that some adjustments could be as simple as cutting out what's not working. Simplifying, however, doesn't mean dumbing things down. Dallas still plans to stay versatile, mixing fronts and coverages rather than sticking to one predictable look. But he admits it would be foolish not to streamline and sharpen execution where it's breaking down. For fans watching this season, the problems have been obvious. The issues on defense aren't isolated to a single weakness. Communication breakdowns, inconsistent execution, and a lack of cohesion on the back end have all hurt the unit. Simplifying coverages might help, but the front seven can't afford to lose its aggression. The Cowboys have the talent to be a dominant defense. What they need now is clarity, urgency, and the courage to make bold changes before it's too late. Week 4 is here, and the Cowboys' defense still hasn't found its rhythm. I've got 6 changes I want to see, starting with this first, urgent fix: stop relying almost exclusively on a 4-man front. NFL Next Gen stats show Dallas has deployed a true 4-man front, 2 defensive ends and 2 defensive tackles, on roughly 86% of snaps, the highest rate in the league. They rushed just 4 on about 79.2% of opponents' dropbacks, the 3rd highest mark. Yet when they rush 4, their pressure rate is only 28.6%, 10th lowest, and they've produced just 2 sacks, tied for 3rd fewest. Put plainly, 4 rushers aren't creating consistent pressure. Across all snaps, the Cowboys sit near the bottom in several pass rush metrics: a low blitz rate, an overall pressure rate around 27.1%, a pressure to sack conversion near 14%, and a sack rate of roughly 3.8%. Their time to pressure ranks among the league's worst. Those numbers add up to a defense that's getting outworked in the pass game. Right now, sticking to 4-man looks as predictable and ineffective. If Dallas wants to force mistakes and change momentum, they need more variation, different fronts, timed stunts, creative blitzes, anything that creates disruption. Holding the line with the same formula every snap simply isn't working. Head coach Matt Eberflus clearly prefers to lean on a 4-man rush. He's never been a heavy blitzer, and at this stage he's unlikely to overhaul his philosophy overnight. But at some point, you have to evolve. At the very least, Dallas must start mixing in creative stunts and twists on passing downs. Right now, the defense runs 4-man pressure with 2 deep shells almost every snap. It's predictable, and it's not working. The Cowboys are doing a respectable job against the run and regularly forcing 3rd and long situations, yet they still can't get off the field. That's the sign of a pass rush that isn't creating enough chaos. It's time to try something different with this pressure package. Another glaring fix: get Jadeveon Clowney on the field. This should be the easiest adjustment of them all. Dallas has said he'll play, and it's time to follow through. His presence and versatility could spark this front 7. Look at the current defensive end rotation: few players are consistently making an impact. Dante Fowler Jr. hasn't flashed much. Osa Odigizua, if that's who you're referencing, started strong but has been quieter lately. Young edge rushers like Sam Williams or Viliami Fehoko, or a similar prospect depending on the actual roster, show promise in spurts but aren't ready to carry the load. This defense needs a proven disruptor, and Clowney can provide exactly that. So far, players like Sam Williams have been underwhelming, and others such as James Houston haven't seen enough snaps to make a real difference, though he's been solid in limited action. The Cowboys even became the first team this season not to sack Caleb Williams in a game. That stat alone screams it's time to unleash Jadeveon Clowney. From scheme to personnel, back to scheme again, this defense has to evolve. Right now Dallas lives in a 4-man rush with heavy zone coverage. According to Next Gen stats, Matt Eberflus's unit has leaned on zone concepts at one of the highest rates in the league. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but when communication breaks down and pressure doesn't get home, even the best zone looks crumble. If the Cowboys want to regain control, they must be willing to mix coverages, disguise looks, and show quarterbacks something new. Sticking to the same formula week after week isn't scaring anyone anymore. The Cowboys are running zone coverage on an incredible 93.4% of dropbacks, the highest rate in the NFL and on pace to be the most by any defense since 2018. But the results are brutal. They're giving up 9.4 yards per attempt in zone, the second worst mark in the league. Look at the broader picture. Dallas ranks dead last in passing yards allowed per game, last in yards per play, 31st in EPA per play, just ahead of Miami, 27th in success rate, 26th in time to pressure, and 27th in sack rate. Simply put, this pass defense can't stop anyone right now. A huge part of the problem is a complete mismatch between scheme and personnel. Matt Eberflus keeps saying the defense will adapt to the players, but on the field, it's not happening. The most glaring example is Kaiir Elam, who struggled in zone coverage in Buffalo, yet Dallas is asking him to thrive in a system built almost entirely on zone. It's the same story with stars like Trevon Diggs, who's at his best jumping short routes and playing aggressive man coverage. Without a pass rush or blitz threat, quarterbacks have all day to sit back and launch deep shots. And Donovan Wilson, a box safety through and through, is being used as if he's interchangeable with Malik Hooker in deep coverage. He's not. In fact, Wilson might be more effective as a weak side linebacker than a deep free safety at this point. Right now, this is a textbook case of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Instead of tailoring the system to his players, Eberflus is forcing players to fit his system. It's a mistake we see across the NFL, but that doesn't make it any less frustrating in Dallas, especially for a defense that should be far better than this. It's time to start talking about personnel changes in the secondary. Right now, the safety play simply isn't working. Dallas looked sharp in Week 1, but since then opposing quarterbacks, like Jalen Hurts, have been fearless throwing deep, and the back end hasn't held up. Malik Hooker has been more consistent than Donovan Wilson, but neither safety has played well since the opener. Wilson's interception was more of a gift from Russell Wilson than a product of great coverage. Last year he struggled against tight ends, and this year the miscommunications have been obvious. Dallas even pulled him for stretches last week. If Matt Eberflus is determined to run cover 2 and cover 4 shells with 2 deep safeties, then it's time to try Wanya Thomas. Wilson simply isn't a natural fit for that role, captain or not. The priority has to be winning games, not protecting reputations. And what happened to Marquise Bell? Dallas paid him and he showed real promise as a coverage linebacker 2 seasons ago under Dan Quinn, yet he's barely seeing defensive snaps now. If Hooker and Wilson keep rolling out there with no changes, the results won't improve. Linebacker is another sore spot. Coaches preach competition, but we're not seeing it. After Week 1, Brian Schottenheimer praised Damone Clark and Marquis Lufa, double-checking actual name, for earning more snaps at linebacker, but the follow-through never came. Lufa played just 6 snaps. This unit desperately needs real competition and accountability if it's going to turn things around. Through Week 1 against the Eagles, some of the younger defenders flashed in limited snaps. Since then, they've barely seen the field, 9 snaps here, 8 snaps there. That's not a meaningful sample size. It just shows the staff isn't giving them a real chance. Why won't the Cowboys experiment? Why not rotate more linebackers and actually create competition? Right now it's mostly Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, and Damone Clark handling the snaps. None of them have been impressive enough to lock those jobs down. Murray was fine in Week 2 but far from perfect. Sanborn looks a step slow. And yet, players like Marquise Lufa, arguably the team's second-best linebacker down the stretch last season, can't get on the field. At this point, try someone like Shamar James. Shake it up. This coaching staff has spent 2 straight seasons ignoring some of its best linebackers. It's frustrating, and it's costing the defense. The same principle applies at cornerback. If you have to bench someone, do it. The current rotation isn't working. DaRon Bland is clearly one starting corner, and Dallas will keep giving Trevon Diggs his reps, even on a pitch count. But there's a strong argument for moving Bland back outside in nickel looks and sitting Kaiir Elam for now. You don't want your corners leading the team in tackles, that's usually a sign the coverage is failing. Elam still doesn't have the instincts for zone. He had the same issues in Buffalo and is getting beaten repeatedly here. By contrast, Jordan Lewis, or whichever depth DB you're referencing, possibly Stewart, has actually been steadier on the deep stuff, even if the bar is low. Right now, he may have outplayed Elam altogether. This defense can't keep rolling with the same personnel and expect different results. It's time for real changes at linebacker and cornerback alike. If DaRon Bland returns this week, knock on wood, the Cowboys must truly play their best three corners. Right now, that might not include Kaiir Elam. The staff has to be honest about who's performing and who isn't. It's unclear whether someone like Tricus Bridges deserves more snaps yet, and we'll see what happens when players such as Carson and Savone Revel return. But one thing is certain, Dallas can't keep rolling out the same 5 defensive backs and expect the coverage problems to disappear. This team has to be willing to shuffle the deck. Try different combinations. Test new rotations. Stick with the players who produce. Without real changes, the results will stay the same, and that's not acceptable for a defense with this much talent.